Well, as she said, I'm Leif Fixen with American Farmland Trust, and for the last year and a half now, we've been partnering with King Conservation District on we call it a coordinated investment, but basically we're pulling a bunch of different state, federal, local, nonprofit funding and focusing it here in Newaukum Creek, so mainly the plateau, to kind of pool all that funding together and do cost share projects. So if you want to do a streamside planting, we've got funding for that. If you want to do an upgrade to your manure management system, we can do that. Solid separators, anything that's going to help you improve the way you manage nutrients, or the other big focus is getting shade on Newaukum Creek. We're doing that through a number of different programs. The biggest one with the biggest checkbook right now is NRCS in their EQIP program. I'll add that this is part of what they call an RCPP. I don't know if you guys heard that acronym before. Anyway, it's a new program inside of NRCS, but basically it's EQIP. And I think, have you guys heard of EQIP? Yeah? Okay. EQIP is, I mean, it's been around for I don't know how many decades through NRCS, but you know, it cost shared on a lot of lagoons going in the area, stuff like that. And so there have been a couple changes surrounding that program that I wanted to talk with you guys about, and it's tied to the hot topic this year, which Nicole will get into a little bit later today, is nutrient management plans. And so NRCS has a plan that they are now going to require you to have before you enroll in EQIP. Well, and I'll get more specific there. Before you enroll in EQIP, that's related to, if you're doing a practice that's going to involve nutrients, you're going to have to get what they call a CNMP, and that's a comprehensive nutrient management plan. And let's see here. Sorry. Double checking this, what I'm going over right now. But anyway, so the CNMP is basically, they want to have those done before you can enroll in EQIP, which EQIP, as I said, will install a bunch of practices on your farm to help you manage it better. The CNMP basically goes through and looks at where the nutrients are going, how they're being applied, how they're being removed, i.e. through crops and stuff like that. And it's fairly extensive. And before, you used to be able to get this plan kind of while you're doing your project. Now they want to see the plan before you even apply for EQIP. So if you're thinking about going into EQIP, wanting to do, you know, say a lagoon upgrade or put in a solid separator or something related to your livestock operation, you'll have to get a CNMP first. One of the best ways to get a CNMP is talk to your conservation district. We've got funding through this big coordinated project to write some of these CNMPs. So if you're thinking about in the next 2-3 years of doing an EQIP contract, talk to the district or talk to your local NRCS office. Yeah. More or less what we covered. And like I said, we'll talk about the CAFL permit later. And deadlines coming up. So we've got an EQIP deadline coming up. We had one in November. We've got another one in February. And then the last one will be in April for this year. We'll probably do another series of these this coming fall. But if you're thinking about something, it does not hurt to just go into the office and get your application in. Once you get your application in, you don't have to have all the details figured out, but it's a good idea to just get your application in, and then you can keep moving down the process. Yeah, like I said, you gotta have that CNMP in done before. It's actually proven to be quite challenging because the CNMP can take some time. It can take up to 9 months to a year to get that done. So if you're wanting to do a bigger project, get the CNMP in. Sign up for a CNMP as soon as you guys can.
What's the minimum property size for a CNMP?
There is no minimum. So you could be 2 goats, a 2-goat dairy wanting to put in a compost bin through NRCS. I wouldn't recommend that, but you would need to do a full CNMP.
What's the suggested minimum size property to do a CNP?
Oh boy, that gets tricky. You know, for me, honestly, it depends on what you're wanting to do and kind of the cost share options you have in front of you. So like if you're in, you know, Newaukum Creek here, there's a lot of different programs, and so if you're looking at something that's going to cost more than like $30,000 or $40,000, I would strongly look at going through a, you know, I wouldn't necessarily tie it to the number of animals. I would tie it to the cost of your project.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, because the feds, that's going to be your biggest checkbook. The state, that's going to be your second biggest checkbook. And so when I say the state, a lot of those funds are managed through the local conservation district, and then the conservation district has a slightly smaller checkbook there too. And then you can tap into some local nonprofit kind of stuff that might cover a compost bin. So, you know, I would say it all depends on how much you think it's going to cost. And a good way to figure that out is have a farm planner out, and they can bring their engineers out, and they can get you really accurate, you know, cost estimates. So.
Thank you.
This is Newaukum Creek. So I'm guessing most of you guys know whether or not you're in or not, but. I'll say the nice thing about this opportunity we have right now is that if you've applied for EQIP in the past, you end up competing with everybody in the southwest corner of the state or the northwest corner of the state, and it's a fairly competitive process. And you don't, like, if you're only wanting one practice or like one thing, and you're not willing to do all these other things, you don't, you know, rank out over, you know, the other folks applying. What this RCPP does is it focuses, you know, $500,000 right here. So if you've got a project that you even applied for in the past and didn't rank out, apply again, because we've got some funding there. So anything else? Did I hit everything?
Do you want to cover maybe the tax implications of the money?
So the, you know, we call it cost share. Basically, and for the most part, you know, the way we're trying to set up the program is it'll cover 50 to 75% of the cost. Right now, if you're interested in doing a stream side planting, we'll go all the way up to 100% on that kind of stuff, or exclusion fencing. So if you've got a creek and you want to fence the cows out, we'll cover 100% of that. But whatever that dollar figure ends up being, that percentage, it is counted as taxable income. And we're not tax attorneys or, you know, tax folks, so you want to have a conversation with your accountant on what that might mean. So,
And maybe talk about you talk about 100% on fencing to keep them out of the creek, but at what buffer distance?
Yeah, and that again ties into, you know, which pot of money we're tapping into. So if you're talking miles of fencing, we'll probably be in NRCS, and that's going to say, what do they fence out at, like 50 feet now you have to be off. But if you're tapping into the Department of Ecology, then depending on whether or not the stream is fish bearing or non-fish bearing, we can go as short as 35 feet away from the stream for non-fish bearing. But if it's fish bearing, so if you're on Newaukum Creek, the main creek, then we're at 100 feet away. So and that's where, you know, if you're interested in that program and you're willing to go up to 100 feet, that's where that NEP grant with King County that Liz mentioned comes in handy, because you can either straight up sell that strip to the county, or you can get an easement where you'll get a chunk of money for that strip of money, and you still maintain ownership. It's just that you can't do anything other than grow trees on it. So.
And CREP is also still an option.
And CREP is still an option as well, and that's a program where you keep ownership, you keep control, and then each year you get a check for basically a rental payment for that strip of land being in trees.
So do you allow access points for livestock to the creek when you're doing fencing?
So
or is it just completely, you're trying to get them 100% off the waterway?
So right now we're trying to get them 100% off the waterway. Depending on the funding source, I don't know, what's KCD's policy on that? Are you guys doing?
Well, what we could also cost share on an off-channel watering system. If you were to say, okay, I'm going to exclude my animals from the stream and they're watering the there currently, we would help design and help pay for an off-channel watering point, so.
So, I guess, because I'm not on Newaukum Creek, so I'm assuming this is some kind of a drinking water source or something, or is it just an irrigation source?
The
What
creek,
is- Yeah, I mean, what is your purpose? Because if you're gonna keep livestock
Yeah.
off at 100%, that would tell me one thing, whereas if you have access points to help, control the access, that means something completely different. So what is the,
Well, do you want to talk about it?
yeah, why don't you go
Well,
ahead?
Newaukum Creek, and all creeks throughout the state Department of Ecology has to evaluate to make sure they're clean in a number of different criteria. Temperature, fecal coliform, bacteria, and a whole host of bacteria, because, right, we want clean water. And we want to eat fish that are clean, and maybe swim in water, or, some folks drink out of, water sources, not Newaukum Creek. Newaukum Creek was, like Liz was saying, 10 years ago was analyzed by the Department of Ecology, and it has issues with temperature. So the water is too warm for fish on certain areas of the stream. And then there is a high amount of fecal bacteria in it. So Liz said septic. So yes, humans contribute to this, wildlife contributes to it, but livestock does as well. So parts of the stream have too much fecal material, and there's bacteria associated with it. And temperature is a fish and aquatic life issue, and fecal is a human health issue. You do not want to eat E. coli because it does bad things to your stomach.
but this is a major tributary. So
Yeah, so-
on my
Yeah,
property,
so
I
that's
have
why
a-
this program
Yeah,
exists,
okay.
right?
So I just
there's
have a
these
seasonal creek on my place.
Which
So
could
that would be
participate.
different, I would think, because, since it's seasonal, there's not fish, there's not, so I'm assuming there would be allowable access points for livestock, or is that not?
It is a little different, but if you think about it, water goes downhill and goes downstream.
Yeah.
So if your whatever, or somebody has a stream and it's contributing a little bit of, whether it's manure or sediment, even if it's only in the winter, it still contributes.
Mhm.
So there might be some ability to allow animal access, but
Yeah, I'm guessing, I know NRCS probably won't cover it anymore. DOE definitely won't cover, like the, hardened access for drinking out of the water source. It'd be a discussion for you guys at King CD for your pot of money. But for the most part, we'd probably try and push you towards doing off-stream watering. So, and that would come with cost share for, whether it's a solar pump, running a water line out to your pasture, or a nose pump or something like that, so.
Every property is unique and different, so that's
Yeah,
where you
and-
have your farm planner come out
Yeah.
and discuss
Right,
what
but if I
options
do
are
it,
available.
my neighbors aren't doing it.
Right.
See, that's where I have a little bit of an issue, is because cost share or not, there's tax implications, there's still cost.
Yeah. Right.
And if I'm the only one in a whole several mile stretch that's doing it,
That's where we like to think of what we do as a little bit of social peer pressure, that if you do it, then maybe your livestock do better than your neighbors, your property looks nicer than your neighbors, and word of mouth, it's like, hey, they've got money to pay for property improvements. There are benefits and drawbacks, of course.
Well, and
right.
You just have to know what all of those are going in, and it's voluntary participation.
yeah,
So-
and quite bluntly, if you're doing it and none of your neighbors are, there's documented problems with Newaukum Creek right now. As that hammer gets closer and closer, if your creek is nice and fenced off, like, they're just gonna drive past your place, and, unfortunately, that's part of the game, is, if yours looks good and you're doing the right things, you're probably not gonna get looked at as being a source of the problem.
And our whole role here is the voluntary.
Yeah.
We don't tell people what
Yeah,
to do with their
incentive-based.
land, but we give them options, and if we're able to help fund it, right?
Right,
there-
exactly.
That's how we can help without
Okay.
worrying about hammers. I mean, it's there,
Yeah.
but we like to do the voluntary stewardship.
And right now, you know, especially in the dairy world right now, you know, it's with the new permit, you know, that's a potential big hammer. So it's, you know, it's good that these programs exist because it allows the producer to kind of get up to speed and tweak some things, you know, before they have to worry about getting in trouble. So anyway, is that any other questions? Yep.
Can you go through the CMMP a little bit as to what it covers?
Yeah, so they say comprehensive nutrient management plan. It is pretty comprehensive. They want to know basically where nutrients are going, or basically where nutrients are being produced and where they're being utilized. So that's everything from, okay, how many cows do you have? How much fertilizer are you? How many acres do you have? Where are you storing the manure during the winter? How are you applying it? What systems are you using to apply it? How much is evaporating into the air? How much are you losing? You know, how are you cleaning your barn stalls? Kind of all these things. How much rainwater are you collecting on your farm that ends up in your manure lagoon? Kind of all these different things, and it basically formulates it dumps it all into an equation. It spits out, okay, yeah, you've got enough acres to use all the manure that you're producing, you know, at agronomic rates, or you don't, you know, and then you can either find more acres, you know, like it basically tells you, it runs that equation, and it tells you where you may or may not need improvements. So it might be something as simple as, well, this slab over here doesn't have a curve around the edge, so when it rains, a little bit of manure is running off the slab and getting just into this ground over here during the winter. To, you know, potentially, oh wait, your manure lagoon was put in 40 years ago, it needs to be brought up to standard, and you're going to have to put a new manure lagoon in. So the reason why they're requiring it now in front of EQIP is that there's in this last farm bill, there was a new rule that said, basically, if NRCS is going to cost share on any one item that's related to managing nutrients on a farm, the entire system needs to be brought up to code, basically. And so it has the potential to be a real project stinker in that if you just wanted a new manure solid separator, you know, they won't just cost share on that. They need to see that the whole system is in place. I mean, and they'll come to the table with cost share, but if you have to upgrade a lagoon, it you know, all of a sudden your $50,000 you know, cost share project for your separator just became a $200,000 cost share project. So it gets tricky, and that's why they want you to have that plan ahead of your signing up, so that you know exactly what you're going to have to do in order to enroll in the EQIP contract.
So does the farmer then just answer questions, or how do you get your proof?
Yeah, so a farm planner from NRCS will come out, or if your CD, the conservation district is set up to do that role, they'll come out, they'll tour the farm, ask you a bunch of questions, and then they'll go through and put together the plan, which will identify if there are any issues that need to be addressed.
So you could withdraw without any penalty?
Yep. Well, and that's just it. So both NRCS and your conservation district are non-regulatory, and quite frankly, the nice thing about working through NRCS is all of that is protected from FOIA requests, and so like nobody can get that information, and so you get handed the plan, and you can see exactly where you stand, and then you can choose to go through EQIP or not. But it at least gives you a confidential list of things that NRCS would like to see you improve on. So there's really no penalty to getting a CNMP. And so, I mean, that's why, I don't know, it doesn't hurt. If you're even remotely thinking about signing up for a cost share project, it does not hurt to sign up for a CNMP right now. So
And then folks that are dairying and have dairy nutrient management plan, the certified nutrient management plan is just, and I think that Nicole's gonna talk about this a little more. No, the certified nutrient management plan would just be an additional level of review beyond that. So folks that already have that through their dairy plan that was done by the district and NRCS a few years ago. It's just adding to that.
Pretty much the same.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing.